Good afternoon. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated here on this Friday. What's happening around the business world? We kind of gotten back into this deal of more threats of tariffs here from President Trump and his administration. We'll talk about that coming up. Of course, we'll look at the market with the Market Watch. Stocks we're paying attention to today and all the nationals and local stories you need to know going into this weekend as well. First weekend without football for you sports fans out there. I know there's the Senior Bowl and things to that effect, but in terms of actual game time, it's something you're going to have to grapple with here for the next several months after next week. But forget about all that. We're here to talk market business. Let's do that with the Market Watch. Let's see what the market's doing today. Yeah, Friday blues are out there, I guess you can say, or Friday reds is what we'll call it, right? Everything is down and down big, right? Dow Jones is down 379 points right now. S&P 500 down to 45. I know our link on NASDAQ's broken for some reason. We haven't been able to figure it out yet. So we sent a ticket in and we're just waiting for that response. But I'll tell you, the NASDAQ's down 236 points right now today as well. The Russell 2K isn't escaping this doldrums. They're down 41 points right now. The Russell 2K is. And interesting enough, right, S&P 500 did hit that 7,000 mark for the first time. I believe it was on Wednesday of this week, but it was earlier this week. Still, in that range with the 69.14 that it's trading at now, but big drops here today from all the stocks. So obviously a lot of stuff is happening. Precious metals like speculative silver. Well, they have a trade. They're basically having trade issues there on the silver side of things. Apple shares down after they announced yesterday as well. And just so everybody's doing a little bit of a sell-off, including in Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin's down big today. And that means it's trading in the low 80,000 range, 82,740 right now for Bitcoin as well. So one of those Fridays out there, and stocks we're looking at that are making news today. First one we're going to look at is Apple. And now I'm going to, I said Apple's down big today. Well, I say it's down big because it's down 1.30%. These big stocks like this generally don't go down to these levels over 1% too often. But 1.32% down as of right now. And this is interesting because the company posted fiscal first quarter results that blew away expectations. They also said they had strong revenue from its iPhone 17 models that, of course, were released in September. All positive news from Apple. Apple earned $2.84 per share for the quarter. The expectation was only $2.67 per share. Blew that out of the water almost by 20 cents there. About 18 cents difference there. Revenue came out at $143.76 billion. Again, blew away the revenue number. The expectation was only $138.48 billion. How big was the iPhone revenue? Well, the revenue for the iPhones, huge increase, 23% for that on an annual basis. Just the iPhone revenue by itself was $85.27 billion in revenue. All that being said today, Apple's down 1.32% here today. And a big number down here for a company like Apple as well. Now the whole market's down as well. So it's is that a byproduct of the market, or is investors unhappy about something? I don't know what they're unhappy about with Apple. Those were some blowout numbers that they produced yesterday in their annual in their reporting there for their last quarter. Deckers Outdoor we're going to look at here. This is UGG Boots, Hoka Sneakers company. 15.44% up right now, folks. Yeah, they issued a 2026 outlook. It surpassed the expectations out there. Decker sees earnings for the period. Well, they want it to range from $6.80 to $6.85 per share. They say revenue will be $5.4 to $5.43 billion out there. This is basically blowing away the number that the analysts wanted. The analysts were only expecting $6.40 per share. Their bottom line in their range was $6.80, so 40-cent improvement over expectation. And the analyst expectation on revenue was $5.37 billion. Well, they say on their low end of their range, they say 5.4 billion is what they're going to come in at here. So obviously, investors like that news. Deckers Outdoors, Ugg boots, Hoka sneakers, and a bunch of those brands, 15.33% up here today. And now let's look at cell phones out there, right? And at least internet stuff. Verizon's what we're going to look at next. And they're up big today as well, 9.71%. Verizon's top and bottom lines, well, no shocker here. If they're up 9%, well, they beat the analyst expectations for the fourth quarter. For their fourth quarter, the company reported adjusted earnings of $1.09 per share. The expectation was $1.05 per share. Revenue came in at $36.38 billion. Well, the expectation was only, right, $36.06 billion as well. They did adjust its full year earnings per share guidance. That also beat expectations moving forward. So Verizon up 9% today based off of a good reporting series event for them yesterday as well. So we got the bad news with Apple. Well, good news for Apple in terms of their reporting, and then bad news for their stock. But otherwise, we're seeing lots of positivity from some of these companies. When we come back later and look at stocks, well, we're going to look at some oil companies out there: Chevron, ExxonMobil. Some interesting numbers here between those two companies. We'll talk about that, and then SanDisk. We talked about Western Digital, and we talked about the other. Not forgetting the Seagate. We talked about both of those storage companies. Well, we're going to look at SanDisk as well, as they did report also yesterday as well. And of course, a lot of uncertainty coming back into the market, right? The precious metals are kind of fluctuating a little bit today, and then anytime tariff talk comes into the market, there tends to be a sell-off. Obviously, with the uncertainty out there. Well, we woke up this morning to find out that President Trump threatened to decertify Canadian-made aircraft and then even impose a 50% tariff unless Canada approves Gulfstream jets up there in Canada. So President Trump accused Ottawa of illegally blocking certification, but allowing their own planes, their own Canadian planes, access to the American market. So what he's claiming is Canada says no American-made planes, meaning the Gulfstreams, can come into Canada, but then expect their planes to come down here. Obviously, this dispute sort of, kind of centers on that aircraft certification line. A plane cannot carry passengers unless it's certified to be able to do so. And that's a regulatory process. It determines whether planes can be sold and even operated within a country. Trump has accused Canadian authorities of using that process to restrict U.S.-made Gulfstream jets. It's not immediately clear which aircraft beyond Bombardier's Global Express, that those specific airplanes would be affected by Trump's proposed tariffs. And that doesn't. We're not sure yet of whether Canadian-built Airbus A220 commercial jets are going to be included in this. Yeah, this is getting big here, folks. So if you want to look at it here, Flight Radar 24, they actually put out an X post. They said that more than 400 Canadian-made aircraft were actually operating to and from the U.S. airports as of early Friday morning. Even in this story, they said there's 150 different quote-unquote carriers that is flying those Global Express line of jets there that are Canadian-made. So big threat this morning in the airline industry from President Trump, and he didn't stop there in terms of the tariff stuff also. President Trump came out, and this was late yesterday, but he signed an executive order. And he's going to impose a tariff on any goods from countries that sell or even provide oil to Cuba. That's a move that obviously is trying to destabilize the government there of Cuba and keep our alliances from funding them out there as well. Cuba's in a huge energy crisis, and it's getting worse as the time goes on. The order here, the executive order, well, it's going to basically put pressure on Mexico. They're a government that has acted as an oil lifeline for Cuba in the last several years. And Mexico has constantly voiced solidarity for Cuba, even as Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum actually has sought to build a strong relationship with President Trump. So, pressure squarely on Mexico here is what he's done, as well as Cuba. Cuba's foreign minister obviously did not like this. A number of other Cuban officials came out and obviously condemned Trump's executive order. One of them, or a bunch of them, called it a quote brutal act of aggression against Cuba and its people, who are now threatened with being subjected to extreme living conditions. Unquote. Cuba relies mainly on external sources for their energy policy down there. Cuba did accuse the U.S. of resorting to blackmail and coercion to try to force other countries to join its universally condemned blockade policy against Cuba. So, um, Cuba's in the middle of a very deep and it's getting deeper energy and economic crisis. And part of it is, most of it is being fueled by strict economic sanctions that the U.S. puts on Cuba. So Cuba has had to rely heavily on foreign assistance and for energy and oil shipments from their allies, right? Mexico's a big one, but Russia, but then even Venezuela is a big one as well. Obviously, Venezuela's been cut off with taking out Maduro, the president down there in Venezuela, and then now, of course, there's pressure on Mexico in terms of these additional tariffs and things coming from that side from this executive order out there. So Cuba's feeling the energy out there. And interesting enough, because I went, how much oil does Mexico give, Cuba? So I kind of had to do a little bit of a search on that. And Venezuela gave a lot to it. And after that happened, that incident happened where we went and took the president out of Venezuela. Well, those oil levels were stopped over there to Cuba. And now Mexico's state-owned oil company, it's called Pemex. They said they shipped nearly 20,000 barrels of oil per day to Cuba from January through September 30th of 2025. What happened after that was in September, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio visited Mexico City, had a little conversation, and then those oil levels to Cuba actually dropped to about 7,000 barrels per day. And now this threat here with this executive order from that perspective, Trump was specifically asked if he's trying to, and the wording was choke out the government of Cuba. And he said, choke out's a tough word, but it won't hurt if they change their ways down there. Is basically what he said in return there from the president. So yeah, so big tariff news here, kind of whirling the market today as well. That we're dealing with that, and earlier today also we do know here on this Friday, President Trump has now said that he's going to nominate former Federal Reserve official Kevin Warsh. He's going to be the next chair of the Fed, is what he's going to nominate. So the this obviously going from Jerome Powell, he's up in May, into a new one, a new Fed president. Well, it's going to basically result in sharp changes to the Fed and Federal Reserve and how it operates. And obviously, Trump putting a person in that's loyal to him, or at least thing on his thinking. Obviously, the Fed could become closer to the White House thinking here over the next couple of years as well. Don't forget, he also nominated Jerome Powell in his first term to the Fed as well. So once Jerome Powell gets done in May, this is the suggested, I guess. He's still got to go through Senate confirmation replacement for him. But you know, obviously Trump, he turns on people if they don't do it as liking. He nominated Powell back in 2017 and has been on his case all in this last year for not cutting interest rates quickly enough. So it's just because you get nominated from the guy and you're viewed as on his side doesn't mean that doesn't change out there. This appointment does require Senate confirmation. And basically, he's trying to. Warsh is 55 years old now. He was on the Fed before, as I told you. He was a member of the Fed's board from 2006 to 2011. He was the youngest governor in history. He was actually appointed at age 35 to the position. He's currently a fellow at the Hoover Institution, which is a right-leaning institution. He's also a lecturer at the Stanford Graduate School of Business currently for him. So that is going to be the nomination for the Fed chairman position that opens up here coming up in May. And then let's get into some business stuff. Get away from the government side of things. And SpaceX is going to do an IPO this year. And now we're learning that SpaceX is exploring deals with other companies. And they're looking specifically at companies helmed by, obviously, SpaceX is run by Elon Musk. They're looking at the other companies that Elon Musk runs as well. SpaceX is to do some commingling, let's put it that way, right? So investors are working through a lot of information between the space company, Tesla, artificial intelligence as well. And investors are trying to analyze which combination makes the most sense for SpaceX to merge into with. So SpaceX is in discussions to merge with the XAI company. That's the intelligence company that Elon Musk does. Of course, they want to make this done before the public offering happens coming up this year, and this is going to be a massive public offering for SpaceX. Reuters is the one reporting that they're looking into XI for a merger. That combination would bring Musk rockets, the Starlink satellites, and even X social media platform with that Grok chat box. Well, it's all going to be obviously under one roof if they do merge into that group there. To me, that makes the most sense, to be honest with you, for them to kind of go with. SpaceX is also considering a merger with Tesla, right? The electric vehicle maker that is run by Elon Musk. Bloomberg reported that there. That one doesn't make as much sense to me as obviously getting with because then you can be responsible for launching, all the Starlink satellites and everything. Yeah, which all the data center information they want to put up into space. That one makes the most sense, but SpaceX looking to merge here into another company there of Elon Musk before their IPO coming up, and I don't think this story here is going to be a surprise for anybody, to be honest with you. We hear a lot about healthcare. The price increased, whether you get subsidies or no subsidies. That price has been through the roof here, right, over the last couple of years. And now we know for sure, based off of a KFF study, paying for healthcare has become America's top financial worry. Yes, it is officially the biggest worry that you got out there. And I think most people have that worry with the pricing on it and how much of your budget and expenditures it's taking right now with all these premium spikes that have happened. Two-thirds of Americans say they are very or somewhat worried about affording health care. That is outranking concerns for paying for groceries, utilities, or even housing costs. This is all according to, like I said, that KFF study that came out earlier today. One third of those of that amount, well, they described themselves as very worried about paying for medical expenses. Healthcare costs, as you know, do include paying for health insurance, but it also includes covering out of pocket expenses, and even prescription drug costs are all in that same umbrella. Healthcare is driving Americans' financial worries because these costs are rising faster than any other category of expenses, including groceries. It's rising faster than that for a very large amount of the U.S. population. And nothing you could do about getting sick, right? Or what ails you. More than half of U.S. adults say their healthcare costs increased in the past year, according to that study as well. So if you're feeling that way, you are not alone. That survey confirms a lot of people, majority of people are feeling that way as well. And I mean, when you look at those costs, man, it's just ridiculous how much? Just the premium. Then, so if you're paying $400 a month for premiums, you go to the doctor and have to drop another two, three, $400 just to see the doctor, and then your medical costs, medicine costs, and everything. It's getting ridiculous out there, and officially a big worry out there as well. And folks, we've got a company that was founded in 1928. They've officially filed for bankruptcy. And if you're a candy fan, might be worried about where you're going to get your candy fix here, might possibly coming up. A company called Primrose Candy Company. They are family owned, but they manufacture and they're known for the hard candies, popcorns as well as what they're known for out there. If you don't know who we're talking about, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection this week as well. The company is seeking to restructure more than $12 million in debt. They want to obviously obtain new financing to cover payroll for its 90 workers that they have, but obviously also help out with operating costs in this meantime as well. Peppermint candies, like when you go to a Mexican restaurant, they make those. That's the big one. You'd probably know that you probably eat a lot out there as well. Court documents in this filing shows Primrose reported assets of $1 to $10 million. Liabilities were from $10 to $50 million is what they're ranging at as well. So They said they have a lot of old debt is what they're looking at, and they just can't afford to pay it off is their concern here. So it's nothing new. It's the older stuff that they've just been kicking down the road as well. So the company revenue, well, it's been falling over the last couple of years. It went down to $7.8 million last year in revenue. It was 11.8 million back in 2024, according to the Chicago Tribune out there. So, like I said, founded in 1928, they sell their candies in bulk to retailers, is what they do. And then basically, they retailers sell them under their own names or different names at that point. So you know their products, you know their popcorn, you know their peppermint candies. Like I said, you get a Mexican restaurant. You just might know them under another name, as this is the kind of company behindhand. So another company, 1928, filed for bankruptcy. This is on the heels of Fat Brands filing for bankruptcy earlier this week as well. So we got a lot of stuff happening out there in terms of long-standing companies hitting some walls, and even so, another big one, right? We Just as an update for you that the majority of Saks off Fifth Avenue stores, or off Fifth stores, is what they call them. Well, they're going to close during this Saks Fifth Avenue bankruptcy that they have. Saks Global is what it's called, the major company. So it is official. They're going to close majority of the off Fifth stores. So look for sales if you like that story and you're looking at that as well. So they announced this all on Thursday, but they're going to close all but 12 of its Saks off Fifth locations nationwide. They also going to shut down the 5 remaining locations of Neiman Marcus's off-brand entity. That's called Last Call. So off Fifth, Last Call. Definitely Last Call is going to be shutting down here coming up. So if you're looking for deals, you might find some here coming up as well. So 57 Saks off Fifth locations will be closed coming up here. A separate entity that controls the website, Saks off Fifth, well, they say it's going to wind down its operations as well. So even the website's going away. The company did not say how many jobs will be lost in these store closures around the two brands out there, but Saks Global coming to some conclusions here in their bankruptcy as we get you that update. And then, as I told you earlier, we looked at Apple's stock earlier. They announced their ratings, and they dominated their stock portfolio, as we told you here, as we looked at stocks to pay attention to earlier in the show. We told you iPhone sales through the roof. And this is on top of them bungling the artificial intelligence side of their phones over the last few years as well. So, quarterly record for the iPhone sales here during the holiday season. And that's without the artificial intelligence coming through for them, as that's been a negative side of Apple here coming up as well. So Apple has tried to offset the AI miscues with a new liquid glass design for these iPhone 17 phones, and kind of change it. If you can't get that right, let's change the phone and the other operating stuff on it. Is what they want to do. But iPhone sales has obviously worked, because the iPhone sales were $85.3 billion. As I told you, in stocks to look out, 23% increase in revenue from the same time last year for Apple. It did mark the Apple's highest iPhone sales for a 3-month period since iPhones came out back in 2007. Apple, big profit, 42.1 billion, as I told you earlier as well, 16% increase over the previous year. If you want to break down those numbers, and so Apple having some success even with those miscues, and boy, see if it keeps going here for them, as eventually this artificial intelligence miscues is going to catch up with them, right? But their stock is down a little bit today, despite those glowing numbers still. What was it down? 1.3% roughly when we looked at that at the top of the show. When we come back here on this Friday edition of McCollum on Business, we keep the show rolling here as well. We look at the market again. We'll look at some new stocks. As I said, we'll look at some oil stocks, Chevron, as well as ExxonMobil, and then SanDisk, another storage. Can they keep up with Seagate Technologies and Western Digital with some positive results? We'll give you that answer. Then, of course, we've got some local stories coming your way as well. So come on back, folks. It's McCollum on Business, Friday edition. And we're back here, Friday edition, McCollum on business. Woo, what a week it's been here. And as we saw earlier, a little bit of a sell-off happening today with some tariff trade winds happening. The world out there, some precious metal movement here, specifically on the silver side. And of course, leading to a sell-off here on the market. But as you just saw there, the real matrix. Yes, the new episode is out here today. On demand here, live on demand here at Robat TV. 10 a.m. is when that episode posted earlier today. Catch the new episode of The Real Matrix here at Robat TV, 10 a.m. on Fridays. It's up now. And then here at noon coming up. The podcast system, just search The Real Matrix on all of your favorite podcasts. Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, all of them, anyone that you listen to. Just search The Real Matrix, and it'll come right up there for you. That episode hits, the new episodes hit Friday at noon on the podcast system out there. We're working on the other feeds in terms of the YouTube page or it's something to that effect. We're still working on that. So for now, it's kind of being taken down. Some copyright concerns out there we have to delve through, but still find it on demand on Robat TV, 10 o'clock on Fridays, up now there. And shortly here at noon on your podcast systems. Of course, the main event for the week is in the bag. Bruce Cooper joined us twice this week on air. Today, he joined us at about 9 o'clock as well, or 8:50 today. We, of course, talked the Suns, Cardinals head coaching search and what a disaster that's become. Diamondbacks talk today in terms of Major League Baseball with Bruce Cooper. Of course, first hour, we kept it busy as well with a lot of other news out there in terms of NFL and other sports stuff. So join us and catch us on demand here right now on Robat TV, of course, the YouTube page, and then any of your podcast systems at TME Sports Show is the social media and the podcast systems to listen to it. If you're driving and can't watch it, at least find it there as well. All available now for you. The pit stop, the Clash this weekend looked like it wasn't going to go. Now it looks like it might go on Sunday only. They've canceled Saturday's festivities for NASCAR. Well, that means the pit stop is about to come back, folks. The new season of the pit stop will be back here starting next week. We'll get that all up there. Follow me at the Pit Stop Talk on the social medias. Give you announcements there as well as what happens with that show as we roll into the NASCAR 2026 season. IndyCar starts on March 1st coming up as well. We'll see what happens with the Clash. Major snowstorm out there in Winston-Salem, and they canceled Saturday's activities already. They say they're going to get in it on Sunday. We'll have to wait and see if they can get all the snow cleared and ice and everything. So follow me at the Pit Stop Talk for that update as well as we get that show rolling next week here at Robat TV as well. And folks, when we get done here, we get it posted at Robat TV and on the YouTube page. So if you miss us live, well, catch us on demand as well. And with all that being said, let's get right into the Market Watch. As I said, everything's down today. There's nothing to say. Silver's down 30%, folks. Gold is down as well, not as much there. And that's basically because of Trump picking Mr. Walsh for the Fed's federal chairman position, because the independent side of things is kind of in question here with this pick, obviously. And so silver down 30% right now. Gold is down as well. Not that big amount as well based off of that nomination. So that's affecting the market today. Then you've got all the uncertainty on these tariff stuffs out there on this Friday. And it means, as you can see here, everything's down big. 384 points down for the Dow Jones. S&P 500 down 52 points. The NASDAQ, it's down 287 points here today. Russell 2K down 42 points right now as well. Even Bitcoin's not escaping this. It's down into the low 80,000 trade range, 82,662 for Bitcoin here today. So every element of the market is being touched today with a down and a sell-off amount, including silver and gold. I mean, 30% drop in silver is a huge drop in a precious metal that has been going through the roof here last several times. And gold, I'm trying to get the total on gold here down, but it's also down. Not that 30% level, not even close to that, but gold also down today. But it looks like silver's taking the major hit in those precious metals. Now, let's look at some oil stocks out there. Chevron's the first one that we're going to look at. Yeah, up today 1.13% as of right now. Their fourth quarter earnings did top the expectation levels, and it was all due to record oil production for Chevron. Well, Chevron earned an adjusted $1.52 per share, did beat the consensus of $1.45 per share. So the shares are up here 1.14% for Chevron based off of that news out there. And then let's look at their competitor, ExxonMobil. Yeah, not the same, right? 1.53% down for ExxonMobil here as well. And this is they're down even though they did beat Wall Street fourth quarter estimates. They did. Lower oil prices is the problem here for ExxonMobil. So they had less revenue and profits based off of the lower prices of oil. Exxon earned $1.71 per share. The expectation was $1.68 per share. Their revenue was 82.31 billion, and their revenue expectation was 81.43 billion. As I said, they beat those numbers. Chevron produced more oil to kind of combat the lower oil prices. ExxonMobil was not able to increase their revenue and profits by producing more. That's the difference here between these companies and why one stock is up today and one stock is down in the same industry. And then we got SanDisk out there. Seagate Technologies and Western Digital. We talked about them. It was either Wednesday or yesterday, but they were both up here with their news. And look at this, another storage company, SanDisk, up 10.07% here today as well. Solid guidance from them is what they came out with. SanDisk sees fiscal third quarter adjusted earnings. Well, they say they're going to range from $12 to $14 per share. The consensus is only $5.11 per share. They're over doubling the per share price here in their future guidance here for their third quarter coming up here. Obviously, the market's going to love that out there. Their second quarter results did beat Wall Street estimates on both lines coming up here. But anytime you raise your guidance, double what the expectation is, well, your stock's going to go up. And SanDisk Corporation is up 9.48% here today based off of that news. Now let's get into some local stories out there as we get through this Friday show. If you're running around town here today in Phoenix area or anywhere and you see a store that you normally go into or a restaurant or anything, and they just happen to be closed today and you're like, that's weird. Just be aware out there that several restaurants, several locations and stores, several local businesses across the valley are going to close their doors today. All part of that nationwide ice out shutdown is what they're calling it. And they want to protest the recent federal immigration operations. There's a list of a bunch of them out there, and I'm not going to publicize them, not because I'm angry or anything. It's just there's also good and bad with this, right? And we don't get into the politics side of things, but just wanted to make you aware out there that some businesses will be closed today that are normally open, and whether you like it or not, that's up to you. Want to make you aware of that as well. For some small business owners, though, this decision to close is a matter of community responsibility. They're willing to give up, obviously, some sales and some profits for a day to support their community in their eyes out there. So, just give you a heads up what might be happening to a place that you normally go out there. Now, not everybody's closing to still support it. Some of them are donating, funds today to like the ACLU and other places. But the Greater Phoenix Chamber did issue a statement that they're going to closely monitor recent local and national developments related to ICE activity. Our priority remains a safe, stable, and predictable environment where businesses, employees, and communities can thrive, is what the Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce said about this as well. So just wanted to make you aware if you go to normal places and it's closed and you're not sure why, the possibility that that's what they're participating in here today. And another story kind of out there that kind of caught me off guard because I just assumed parents would be doing this. Yeah. Apparently not. Apparently parents are exploiting their kids and not giving them the money. So now parents that are making money off kids through YouTube videos, well, there's a law trying to be passed that will require by Arizona law to set aside some of that cash for the kids that are also involved in those videos. So the House Commerce Committee on Tuesday without dissent, by the way, did approve legislation to require that half of all the revenues generated be turned into special trust accounts for the kids, which means they're off limits to the parents to touch and spend. The children can access those dollars once they turn 18 years old. It even permits those who are at least 13-year-olds who are producing their own videos and have set up their own revenue stream. Well, they can keep all the money themselves, meaning they don't have to give the money to their parents if they're over 13 and earning the money themselves as well. So that law is going through here. I think it's a good idea, by the way, because we've heard the story in Hollywood specifically where parents keep all the money and don't give it to any of the kids. The kids are poor, right, as they get older out there. Yeah. So, by the way, this law already exists in terms of federal law for commercial productions. Like I said, for movies, TVs, because of some bad things that have happened in that industry over the years as well. That's the Coogan law, is what that's called. So it already exists on that national level as a federal law, but that only pertains to movies and television. Now it's going into social media here in Arizona if it does get passed through. By the way, it's House Bill 91. I'm sorry, House Bill 2192 is what it is. It does have the blessing of Google, which is the parent company of YouTube out there as well. So there's backing from the company. And, if you don't know, YouTube does share some of the revenues it generates from how many times someone views a video, and that's basically they sell the advertising to it, and then they collect the money and share a percentage of that with the people out there. So this is kind of where the story comes from, right? Ryan Cagey, I guess he's a YouTube star out there, and he started for a long time, beginning at age 3. His channel was called Ryan's World, and his parents, had him playing with boxes and toys and everything when he was little. Payments to the family was given to the family from a lot of the products, right, and everything. His channel had close to 40 million subscribers at one time. Forbes last year listed him as one of the top creators with earnings of $35 million. Half of that would have to go to him and not his parents. For instance, if this bill did pass here in Arizona. So those of you with social media accounts and you exploit your kids, I should say exploit your kids, but you include your kids. Yeah, if you're not splitting that money with them, first of all, I will say this. Thank you for watching. Second of all, shame on you. Put the money aside for the kids as well. Use what you need and then give it to the kids so they have a future as well out there. But it might be coming a law, folks. And now there was a 10-hour Phoenix Council meeting. What were they talking about? Light rail. Yes, Tuesday afternoon. The meeting drew wide public attention because the council is going to be making a final decision to adopt the Capital Light Rail expansion. Or will they abandon plans to, do that Capital Light Rail extension? With the two options on the board. The council did vote 7-2 in favor of shifting efforts to bring light rail to West Phoenix. So basically, West Phoenix down Indian School Road is where they're looking to put the light rail and extension side of it. Now, there's been a lot of pressure from Republicans in the Arizona legislature. The Republican legislatures basically said if you go through with this, we're going to scrutinize the price, the billing on it, and basically said we're going to make it hard for you to put through and very difficult to put it through as well as what they're talking about that. The Phoenix City Council did cave to that pressure. They decided to shelve the plans to expand the light rail system to the Arizona Capitol and then the West Valley along I-10. They've already put tens of millions of dollars into the project, and now they've scrapped it as well. More than 100 members of the public spoke during the meeting. They all talked about their preferred route of this instead of where it was kind of going as well. Public comment by itself lasted about 4 hours in this meeting. Meeting started at 2:30 p.m., and it ended around midnight. Yeah. A lot of passion here. A lot of business owners along Indian School Road, well, their concerns are, of course, the light rail will force their businesses to close. We've seen that in Mesa, but now we're seeing a revitalization now that the light rail's been completed over there. Then you see revitalization come in, but people do have to close their businesses. during the construction side and down central when they expanded that as well. So a lot of that was people complaining and worried about their businesses surviving that route there down Indian School at that point. So 10-hour meeting. Can you imagine? Thank goodness I'm not on the city Phoenix Council. That would be kind of scary as well. And finally, spring training's coming up here. We're just a couple weeks away from a week and a half, roughly, from pitchers and catchers reporting, and then full spring training. And see how many visitors we have coming in this year for that. But Sloan Park over there in Mesa, that's home of the Chicago Cubs. They're receiving $16.8 million in significant upgrades for this 2026 spring training season. So they are going to do a bunch of key improvements out there. One of them will be an 18,000 square foot state-of-the-art performance laboratory with pitching and hitting tunnels, plus a new women's locker room designed to enhance training technologies and obviously facilitate women umpires and the people that need those services from that side. So big upgrade there for Sloan Park. I was looking to try to find out if other upgrades are happening at other ballparks. I haven't seen anything major on that at all. Um, but the women's locker room is obviously for the amount of women that are now involved in baseball. So it's about time that somebody's doing that for them as well. So they're trying to modernize player development tools. They're scheduled to be functional before the Cubs actually show up here to be here for the full team here for this Cactus League season. And that so City of Mesa has been doing a multi-million-dollar investment here with Sloan Park to maintain its training facilities for their baseball teams throughout it. And this Sloan Park's getting this one. I know they did the one where the A's play at Hohokam Park. They did that a couple years ago as well. So, and Mesa wants to be known as the premier place for spring training coming up. So, and when you go to the Cubs Stadium here for spring training, well, you're just a week and a half away or so, and keep that in mind. Look around for the new improvements. What your tax money is going to out there, and folks, appreciate you joining us here for this Friday edition of McCollum on Business. We'll be back next week. WM Phoenix Open Week around this parts of Phoenix here, and folks, we'll have the show 11 o'clock here coming up on Monday as well. Same schedule as this week for the most part. 11 o'clock on Monday, 7 a.m. on Tuesday. We'll go from there after that, folks, as we do that morning business show on Tuesdays. Have a great weekend out there. No football. Enjoy your weekend. Stay cool out there. It's going to be warm with that touching 80 degrees this weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Catch our shows on demand on the YouTube page or, of course, free podcast system. Share us with your friends as well, if you would. And we'll see you next week, everybody. Have a great one.